have liked, I guess, towards the end there?
Yeah, definitely. But as I just said to you, we are in the entertainment business, aren't we? So everything for the TV and the fans and all that, and of course, it's way easier to stand here on the backside of a win.
We knew coming into the game we need to start sharp because they're going to come and they're going to play a lot of long balls and put pressure on us. And I thought we dealt with that. It's just that end of the first half where we needed to stay. We could defend it a lot more better. I think it's difficult, especially with the young players. But I thought all of them that come in and started the game really did do well.
We have a big responsibility. I think it's stressful is to lose games. When we are fighting for winning a title, for me, it's not stressful. Stressful is today. Is try to think about the game, think about the next game, think about the context, to think about protect the young kids. That is the hardest part, especially in the club like Manchester United.
Everyone's going to keep talking about Europe and you've got your sights set on that, but just to have something like that possibly in the distance, it must be great.
I think it's very great to have something to push for. I think just give that extra edge. But of course, any team want to end as high as possible. We definitely want to do that. We just had short turnaround, very difficult. Away to Nottingham, home to Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Got 6 points, 2 well-deserved wins. That's very impressive.
Yeah, they are on a good run and still in with the chance of a European place, which we'll look at in a little while. They exploited some Manchester United vulnerabilities today, didn't they, Brentford?
Yeah, I thought they did. I think Brentford, we know how Brentford play. They do it every week. And if you look at Manchester United, they're obviously back five. Harry Amas, he has to get tighter to the ball. We talked about Kukurea previously, about getting tight. He doesn't. And then it allows Brentford to come inside and have different options. But then here, Garnacho, Mainu, they switch off, and I don't know what they're doing. Obviously, De Ligt goes down with the injury. Garnacho switch off, the Mainu switches off, which you can't do that against this Brentford team who like to put balls in the box and try and hurt you. And then it's a great cross and a great header. I think for young Fredrickson here, I think if he just opens his body out a little bit, he can maybe see the forward and get his arm across, but he doesn't. Makes it very difficult for himself, and then it's a really good header. But Brentford caused Manchester United problems all day from wide areas, I think. Ahmad, he's not in my opinion, he's not a wing-back. But if he's playing there, he has to put the work in. So again, cross into the box. Brentford done it all day. They picked up the second balls. They sustained attacks. They get it back out wide again. Ahmad has completely switched off. Ball goes out wide again. And again here, young Fredrickson again. He's got 3 players to try and take care of, which is impossible. Ahmad doesn't get back in and cover for him. And then they concede another goal from across. So this was all afternoon. This was happening to Manchester United. And here, they're a little bit just disjointed. The back line, ball goes out wide again. No pressure on the wide player. Jensen runs off Mainu, doesn't get back in, finds out in a lot of space. And then this is a great pass and great 2 passes. It becomes an easy finish for Wissett. But Brentford caused Manchester United problems all day getting the ball out wide, and Manchester United didn't really have that intensity in how
intensity is the word.
It is intensity, but the great point you make there about wing-backs, different than a back four, allows you to go and press anyway, because you've got the centre-halves, the extra centre-half behind you. But surely that's what they do in training, no? It's like, if you're a coach of a system, the basics of a system, if you've got wing-backs, they press the wide men quick. And it doesn't look like they're doing it. It's bizarre to me to see.
Yeah, it's strange, because that's why you play a back five, if you like, or a back three with your wing backs. They have to put pressure on the ball, otherwise you get outnumbered in the midfield, then the ball comes back into the midfield. So it was straight. But they had a lot of young players on the pitch.
Well, and that's it, isn't it? It was the 3rd youngest ever Premier League starting 11 of any club, and it showed at times.
It did show, and I think it showed with. There was a lack of movement, a lack of know-how on the pitch, if you like. And you see here, the ball goes to Luke Shaw. He's got a lot of time, a lot of space on the ball. If he plays it out wide to Amas, then it maybe brings Garnacho into the game a bit more. Doesn't, it's slow, it goes back to the goalkeeper. Ball's getting moved slow around the back. There's no movement, really, for anyone to try and get on the ball. And then now, they've got a 17-year-old lad up front, youngest ever for Manchester United to start a Premier League game. And they're just launching balls up to him, and I really felt for Obi today, because if you could tell he's inexperienced, but it looked like he had no help. They're just throwing balls up to him. Maybe a wrong selection of his run, a bit too it's a bit too easy for the Brentford defenders to...
The ball didn't do him any favours,
The ball
though,
didn't,
did it?
but... And again here now, Manchester United in the pressing there was no intent, no organisation with it, as we see it. They lose the ball here, but then no one getting anywhere near the ball. Lots of space for Brentford to do what they want, really. But again, he stands on the ball, slow. Ball goes back to the goalkeeper. No movement really to get on the ball. Long ball up again, and then for Brentford, it was easy for them to obviously deal with the young lad up top. So, and then here, Brentford win the ball back. No organisation, no intensity on it. Late to get to the ball. Within 2 passes, Brentford could be in on goal again. So it was...
It's a muddle, isn't it?
See, I get there's young players, I understand that, and they're playing against good teams. But he only plays this system.
Yeah.
He's not mixing things up, personnel and systems. He's been there a while now. So when you play a system that much and you work on it that much in training, surely we can see more improvement, irrelevant of who's playing, because they should be organised in that system.
Yeah, you'd think so, but I think the second team, I think they're playing a back four, which I found strange, because the second team, a lot of them players who were playing
Like
the first team...
Like the under-21s or under-23s.
A lot of them players who've come into the first team now, they're getting their game time with the under-23s or under-21s, and they're playing different systems. So, for me, that's a bit confusing. So I think the Europa League, getting the Europa League final is papering over a lot of cracks. There's big problems at Manchester United, and that needs solving quickly.
Whereas Brentford, everybody knows what they're doing, everybody knows what their role is, and everybody chips in as well. You know, some teams may have a 30-goal-a-season player. Brentford have got 3 who are into double figures, and no other Premier League team has that this season.
It's brilliant, yeah. They've also got great intensity and physicality about them. But make no bones about it, I've seen Brentford live a few times. They play as well as go long. You know, they do have long throw-ins, they do play long occasionally and use the pace, but they can play out as well with Norgard getting on it. They vary their game as well as anyone in the Premier League. He's done a great job.
And we know what the Europa Conference League did for, say, when West Ham got into it. You look at, we think it could be 8th that gets you into the Conference League next season. If you're Bournemouth, if you're Brentford, it's a big incentive.
Absolutely, for clubs. You know, you don't want to be there if you're Man United, Liverpool or Chelsea, of course not. But those clubs can go on a journey with the supporters, possibly win silverware. West Ham's the best example of it.
Yeah, I think you see the reaction to West Ham winning, the fans, and big European nights, and they go away. I think they got to semi-final. It was the Europa League or Conference League the year before. And then they go and win a European Cup. So it's massive for Brentford, you think. I played against Brentford with Derby County a few years ago. To see them now established in the Premier League, doing really well, and potentially playing in Europe, I think the manager has done brilliant there.
Right. Mentioning that United and Tottenham look like they're sort of 70-80% there for what would be a blockbuster of a Europa League final. That would be... a 60-70 million pounds game for both of those clubs who are toiling at this moment in time.
Probably
in the league.
The most consequential final of that competition there's ever been, given the size of the clubs and what it will mean to the winner.
Well, for English clubs certainly, because you're right, because ultimately you would expect them to be higher up in the league, But the reality of it is, at this moment in time, we could end up with 6 teams in the Champions League, and you're right. Because of what's happened with PSR and the financial stuff in the last few years, where so many teams, big clubs, United, Villa, Newcastle, they're all on the edge, aren't they, of sort of breaking the rules and overspending, and it really does hamper them and harm them when they don't get in the Champions League. It's a massive consequence. So you're going to have some nervous boardrooms in the next few weeks, and managers, because the success of a manager will depend upon the investment in the squad and good recruitment. And if you can't recruit because if you can only half recruit, if you've got a budget of 50-60 million versus a budget of 120, you're going to have a lot better chance as a coach and a manager and a group of players to be successful next season. So for Villa, for Forest, for Chelsea, for Manchester United and Tottenham, and obviously Newcastle as well, and the teams that aren't quite sort of secure yet, it's big. It's really big. I'm not quite sure it's right that football is like that we are sort of at this moment in time, relegations sorted, the titles sorted, and we've got what would be games for money. That is it. It's games for money. And that's what the that's what's at stake in this next few. There's no trophy at stake in the Champions League places that we're talking about. There is obviously for Tottenham and Manchester United, but it's sad. No one talks about winning the Europa League to lift a trophy and get a medal around the neck. They talk about it from a point of view of its qualification for the Champions League. It gets you £80 million. It's almost like a competition has been dismissed because of its prize. That's the old UEFA Cup. That's a big competition. That was a hell of a competition back in the day. That was something that meant something. But it's now been put to a point whereby the sort of main sort of marketing sell of the Europa League is you get a Champions League spot. Well, what about the trophy? What about the medal around the neck? I did say probably a few months ago that if Manchester United weren't to win the Europa League, that I would want Tottenham to win a trophy. I enjoyed Newcastle winning a trophy at Wembley against Liverpool. But I obviously want Manchester United to win desperately. But it looks like that's going to be a hell of a final. I mean, obviously both teams have to finish their jobs off in midweek, and they have been known to, let themselves down this season. So you'd think that both of them will complete the jobs and do it. And then we look forward to what would be a very special occasion back in Bilbao, actually, for United.
Mason Mount was critical of Manchester United's failure to beat Brentford in the Premier League on Sunday. Amorim made 8 changes to his starting team to face Brentford, and Mount made his first start since returning from injury. Mount opened the scoring in the 14th minute after a superb cross from Alejandro Garnacho, but Brentford responded brilliantly and they led 2-1 by half-time. Brentford extended their advantage in the second half, with Kevin Shade and Yoane Wissa scoring goals in quick succession to give the home side a 4-1 lead with 17 minutes to play. But United didn't give up and Garnacho popped up with a stunning goal in the 82nd minute. Ahmad then made it 4-3 when he cut inside to score during injury time, although United ran out of time to find an equaliser, meaning they were narrowly defeated at the Getch Community Stadium. Although Amorim made multiple changes, Mount was adamant that standards must be higher. "We need to do better. We need to win this game," he told Premier League Productions. "We started well, but that second half and end of the first half conceding goals where we knew what was coming. We knew they put crosses in the box and we need to defend that better. We can perform better in the game. We still need to perform. There were changes, but it's Manchester United, so any team that goes out there that puts on the shirt, we need to perform and win games. I know there's a big game on Thursday, but first and foremost was today. We needed to win the game, but we didn't. It was too late when they scored 4. Mount did agree that United showed some personality in the defeat. "We've shown that before," he said. "We never let the game go until the final whistle, but we can't let ourselves get in that position. It's a bit of personality and character, but we shouldn't get in that position." He was asked about the Europa League and added it's a massive end to the season. "We have a big game on Thursday. It doesn't matter the scoreline. We attack it like it's 0-0. We know what we need to do. We can get into the Champions League next season, and that's the most important thing. The season we've had in the Premier League is something we need to look at massively, but if we can get into final and win that, it's a positive end to the season."